Okay, it's 2:05, sir. We're going to go ahead and kick off. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Security Awareness While Working Remotely webinar. I'm Bill Rohrman, the training coordinator for the Center for Information Technology Excellence. I'm assisted today by my fellow colleague, Henry Rose, who will be monitoring the chat box and providing responses to any questions that you might have as we move through today's presentation. The slide deck that we're about to review is available on the training page, so you can access that after this presentation should you want to get a copy of that. Again, it's going to be at pbamu.edu/its/training. During today's session, we will review some critical points to address the increasing threats to the security of our information systems and data while working remotely. Today's topics include importance of why, core security risk, security awareness in your home environment, working from home securely, secure video conferencing, personal computers and updates, and security team. The main question we ask in anything with security is why. The reality is that each member of our campus has a responsibility to safeguard the university's data, the network, and other resources that are entrusted to us. Staying vigilant and exercising security awareness is essential in assisting all of us to fulfill this responsibility and to strengthen our defenses against future attacks. Cutting-edge research has made higher education a prime target because universities have extensive databases on thousands of staff. Those databases include rich assets that are attractive to cyber attackers, such as personal, financial, and desirable research and development data. Other things that we review, there's multiple things that we should know while trying to secure work from our home environments during this COVID-19 pandemic frame and also beyond. The reality is at any time that we're working away from the office. The employees are going through a great deal of both stress and change, and that's a culmination of a lot of things that we're having to juggle. Those things have pushed us into adapting into a new environment. And so we have to look at all those things, but still stay cognizant of what our responsibilities are and how we should handle those. The real reality is that we're all targets, regardless whether it's in our university responsibilities and duties, whether it's in our personal business, we're all targets, and we need to stay cognizant and aware of those type of attacks that may be posed upon us. Two of the major security risks that we'll review today include social engineering and passwords. One may ask, what is social engineering? Social engineering is a form of techniques that's employed by cyber criminals and are designed to lure unsuspecting users into sending them their confidential data, infecting their computers with malware, or opening links to infected sites. The most prevalent type of attacks include phishing emails and virus scams. Phishing is the primary way that cyber attacks are carried out. Although phishing is a relatively basic hacking method, it continues to be very successful due to its reliance on manipulating people's trust. It only takes one individual to click on a malicious link for an attacker to infiltrate the university's databases in order to get their desired outcome, whatever that outcome may be. Many employees do not realize that with only a few pieces of information, such as name, date of birth, or address, hackers can gain access to multiple networks masquerading as legitimate users to IT support personnel. From there, it's as simple as resetting passwords and gaining almost unlimited access to your information. Cyber criminals will utilize a myriad of methods to gain network or computer access. So let's review some of those. Some of the most common social engineering indicators include questionable requests. When someone's asking for information they should have access to or should already know. Paying attention to our emails. When we receive our emails, being critical of the data that we're receiving, look at the sender, look at who the email is coming from. We've had some emails that have impersonated our PVAMU employees. Look for grammatical errors in the email. Kind of scrutinize all the data elements that are within your email and make sure that it's safer to look at it from a suspicious view and verify that what we're going to open and what we're accessing is actually a legitimate email. Urgency and protocol. We all have those for the information and systems that we work with. So not allowing someone to pressure you to ignore or bypass policies and protocols. Be very cognizant of that. Resisting the rush. Someone creating a tremendous sense of urgency for you. Basically pushing you to react quick and that you've got a certain time frame to respond to the question or the scenario that they're imposing upon you. Be very suspicious when you receive those types of requests. Think before you click. Again, someone's going to want you to carelessly click on a link and not think twice by opening any attachment. The reality is that most of the infected emails that come from a phishing source that have attachments are set up so that when you click on that attachment, it not only affects you, but it affects multiple systems. In a recent scenario that's happened in the corporate world, an employee clicked on an attachment and it shut the whole enterprise down, costing them a lot of money. There's a lot of thousands of dollars just to be able to overcome that issue. Be very cautious. Again, one wrong move could infect your device and it could quickly spread to others. One of the other things that you could do, we recommend, is that when you get an email, if you're suspicious about a link or an embedded link there, just hover over that link. And by hovering over that link, it'll display the email address or the URL where it's going. And from there, you'll be able to determine whether that's an active link or not. Don't just download it or plug it into your device. Someone's going to be counting on you and try to catch you off guard so that you can download unapproved software or plug in an infected USB device or any other kind of device. We should only be using authorized hardware and software that is imposed on our devices and worked through with our IT department. Anything outside of that should be suspicious to you. Recognize a bag of tricks. Something too good to be true generally is. A common example, a basic one, right, is if someone lets you know that you won the lottery. Reality is, if we never entered it, we won't win it. So a lot of the attacks that are posed out there are things that are going to try to catch your eye and things that are going to try to manipulate you based on the thought of the content in the email. So just be very aware. Ask questions, and if something feels odd or suspicious, contact the security team. They can be reached at 936-261-2525. If you feel that you're experiencing some kind of social engineering attack, some kind of phishing email that you might have received, if it's a call, then we ask you to hang up the call and don't respond to any of the other emails that may follow from that phone call. And again, once that happens and you've been subject to that, contact the security team right away. We're not trying to get you with the scenarios that we're posing, but we are trying to help you. Why? Because all of us are targets. A lot of these targets that we've been succumbed to are coming at us in a myriad of different ways, not only in our professional duties, but also in our personal accounts. So phishing emails and social engineering attacks such as those are all over the news. And unfortunately, the pandemic situation that we're in, a lot of cyber attacks are being posted and disguised on COVID-19 situations. So be very cautious as you manipulate the informational world that we live in. So here on your screen, you should see a sample phishing email. And on that phishing email, there's a couple of things here to look at. And again, the attackers are trying to get us when we're at least paying attention. We're multitasking. We're trying to take care of our work and also our home life, right? Because many of us are working from remote locations where we're trying to juggle and, again, adjust to a new environment. But if you look at the email that's on the screen, the from line is from the ITS team. then if you look at the email, it's its.pvamu@gmail.com. If you just, if you just glance this email real quick, you'll see PVAMU, and you might not even pay no mind to that. And that's what the attacker is actually trying to get you to do, to not focus your attention on this gmail.com. Everyone knows that anything from our university, whether it's a group, it's a team, or an email from an employee, will not end this way. So be very suspicious. Look at those lines. Then look within the email as well. Within this email is an embedded this site that's under. It's got a hyperlink on it. If you hover over that hyperlink, you'll see that the destination is actually mydesign.com. This is the actual domain. So by clicking on there, one may think that they're doing something that's going to affect their university business, and based on the content of the email and their email address being deactivated, but it has nothing to do with it. It redirects you to a whole different site. So again, that's a basic example, but we've had that happen on our university campus already. And so it's more prevalent than some of us think. Be very cautious in looking at your emails and working through them. On your screen, you'll see two phishing tests for phishing emails. I'm going to take you through one to show you how it works, but there's two different ones there that are available to you. Again, this slide deck is on the training page on the website, so you're able to access these once this webinar is over. And be able to go out there, click these links so that you can practice and get more familiar and gain comfort with identifying phishing emails and knowing what to look for. We're going to go ahead and click onto the Google one, and we're going to do a couple of examples there to show you how this tool works and how you can test yourself. So when we look at that here, we'll just log in there, and it's a web-based application tool that you have access to. So I've already used John, so we'll use John. And you can create any name and any email as it tells you, and just click on Get Started. What it'll do is it's going to provide you a scenario. As you look at the scenario and review it, you basically are going to make a determination whether this is a phishing attempt or if it's a legitimate attempt, right? A legitimate email that you received. If we look at the email and hover over that, that's coming from a Gmail account, but look at the numbers and a lot of that looks familiar. The reality though is that this is on an attachment that's been forwarded to you. The only attachments that we should be opening and reviewing are attachments that we know who we're working with and that we're expecting those attachments. In this scenario, if you just get an email like this and it's an attachment such as a budget, and want you to open it, the reality is that it'll end up asking you to do something that's going to prompt you into an attack. So because we received this, we would say that this is a phishing attack. It'll then respond to you right based on the determination that you made, and it'll even tell you what to look for because it'll point out what those issues were. Again, this one, when you click on Show Me, will tell you that if you hover over this link, it tells you that it's going to this URL here. Which is not what you would have expected. And you go on to the next example. This example here comes from eFax. So again, they want to manipulate you by catching you off guard. If you look at this screen real quick, it's real easy to see that this is coming from eFax. However, and maybe you work with eFax, but if you pay close attention to the email URL address up here, you notice that this is EFACKS. So it's not fax, right? It tries to mirror that, but we know that something is wrong with this. Same time, if you hover over any links on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you should see the HTTP link right down here when I hover over it. Again, you can look at that and see that that's going to eFax delivery, and that something that URL is off. Just by the way it's done by .com.mail.ru and then has a number .co, right? So looking at those things and pointing those things out will be prevalent in helping you be successful. This we'd say is a phishing attack because of those discrepancies. Again, click on Show Me, and then it'll bring that issue up, identify to you what the issues were, and again, we hovered over the link to see that this was an issue as well with the actual given content. Again, we talked about attachments that come. Some of the attachments that come are going to come, they're going to seem that they're coming from a colleague that you routinely communicate with. And something as simple as this, just sending you a photo, right, should be a questionable act that you've received. We hover over this and you look down at the lower left-hand corner, you'll see that the URL there and the way the domain ends is not something that's from the university. So again, most things that have attachments, if they're not attachments that you recognize, they're not from someone that you're collaborating with, be very leery of those. Again, you can just click show me here and it'll go over that information for you so that it tells you what the issues were. So those are a couple of the examples that the quiz will lead you through. You can access that as many times as you want by simply going back and visiting the URL. This is another quiz that's out there. This one will test you kind of more specifically on websites. So again, these two tools are out there. They're available on the training page, along with a lot of other resources. Make sure you visit the page so you can access these and work through so you can gain comfort with these type of attacks. Again, be very cautious with unexpected attachments. A lot of times that's what catches us because we're not expecting those to be malicious in any matter. Unfortunately, they are. Never enable macros unless you know who created the document. Again, documents, the important piece and the point that I need to stress to you and continue stressing is that the attachments that you get and receive and open should only be coming from a trusted source. Don't click on any unknown file extensions that may be embedded in your emails as well. Again, hover over them, look at them, and determine a valid site before you any other action on it. So a lot of information on phishing emails, but the reality is this is the most prevalent way that a lot of our university employees are getting caught. And again, it's unexpected because we're getting lured, so we have to be very cautious. The other cyber security risk is passwords. You know, and password management is like eating vegetables, right? Everybody knows they should be doing it, but the reality is that few do. So we all need to ensure that we do our part to make this a best practice in securing our information and our access. Some tips for secure passwords are on your screen there. The old standard was that it contained 8 characters. However, we moved towards our new standard of 12 to 16 characters, containing a combination of the data elements that you see there. And therefore, that would require you to change your password every 2 years. The longer that your password is and the more elements that you put in it, the harder it is for someone who's trying to attack you via cyber attack. A lot harder it is for them to crack that code and access your information. So keep that in mind. Another key point to utilize, depending on the amount of passwords that you have and how we have to manage them, is to use multiple small words, to create a passphrase. The example here is very basic, right? 222. Again, look at your area where you work, where you're situated. If you can utilize 3 small words from that, that working area that will call to mind what that password is for that respective application or system, then utilize that because those passwords are a lot harder as well. Those are things that you see and you've put together, and it's a lot harder for cyber criminal to try to attack you that way. They'll try, but it's a lot harder for them to break it. And do not use any common phrases from any movies or books. Those are very easy for them to fall back on. Some additional key points for passwords are never save your password in the browser. Always use a password keeper. For our university, all our employees, faculty, staff, and students, the university has purchased LastPass. That information is available at pbamu.edu/LastPass. Again, you can gain that information from the website. It'll give you some detailed information on the application, how it works, and it's a tool that you can utilize to manage all your passwords. Never share your passwords with anyone. It doesn't matter who it is and for what reason. The key point here is that anything that happens with your passwords and your access You are the responsible party for that, and you're the one that will be held accountable for any action underneath your account. Therefore, safeguard your passwords, utilize them, secure them so that they're there only for your use. Again, create a unique password for each account. Try not to utilize the same password for your accounts, because if you do get hacked into one, then you've now provided access into all your other systems and applications. Never use public computers to log into your online accounts. A lot of public computers are on networks that aren't secured. Be very leery of that, and try to log into secure networks only. Again, working remotely, logging into secure networks, you can utilize VPN when needed, but also a lot of our other applications require dual authentication. So when you can utilize dual, do so that it protects you. And the reality is that a lot of your personal accounts, bank accounts, things like that, are even now reverting to a dual two-step verification. So a lot of additional security requirements that everyone across the board is placing on accounts. Don't use your PVAMU password on any other site, right? Just like our devices, keep your work and your personal life separate. And then that way it doesn't open a gate to your information. Security awareness in your home environment. Again, we're working in a different environment. When we work on the university, a lot of the measures and precautions that are put in place are common nature to us. We expect those, and we're walking into an area that we know is secure. However, in our home, though we may have done what we know to secure our dwelling, we also need to make sure that we're looking at it to ensure that the work we're doing remotely is also secured. While you're working in your home environment, again, look out for the phishing emails and the different sites. You will be targeted. I guarantee you. We've already had several employees just in the short time that we've been working remote due to the pandemic situation that have been targeted. Be very cautious. Be aware of remote desktop inquiries. Don't just allow control to anyone into your desktop. And the reality is that should you have an issue that requires someone to remote into your desktop, it should be an action that you already initiated with the IT desk support or the help desk. And they're not going to know that you have an issue with your system unless you've contacted them or you've submitted an online request for a ticket. And at that point, they'll reach back and you'll be able to validate that based on their PVAMU credentials. So again, this is just another tactic that's being utilized. Never provide your passwords to anyone through email or over the phone. It doesn't matter what the reason is. And anyone from the IT help support desk is never going to ask you for your password. So any assistance that you're receiving from the university, keep in mind that no one will ask you for that. So the minute that someone asks you that, should raise a red flag for you. Again, if you didn't initiate a ticket and you're receiving calls and you're receiving pop-ups on your screen that tell you to call this 800 number or whatever number may be displayed, do not make that call. Do not answer that call, especially if it's from a non-PVAMU phone number. Issues with your video conference. Ensure no one else is on your network watching videos, playing video games, etc. We're working in a remote location. Some of us utilizing our home networks, and we have others working in our home as well, whether it's spouses, significant others, children that are here doing homework and things from virtual classrooms. Again, a lot of that places a negative impact on the network. So try to minimize that, know how much you've got on your network and who's on it. And then that's the most important piece that I can stress to you is know who has access to your network so that you can limit that. Any website that you're required to enter data into, make sure that it starts off with HTTPS : //. Those should be the only types of URLs that you're accessing to input any kind of data. So be very cautious of those in the way that they'll be posed to you. Working from home securely. Again, you are the biggest target. We all are. So be very cognizant of your surroundings and also your bystanders. During the time that we're working remotely, depending where we're at home, maybe you're at a coffee shop, maybe you're at a remote location, utilizing the space there because it's quieter or it allows you to do your work. Be very cautious of the bystanders that are there. A lot of times, bystanders that are there, depending on the proximity, I can overhear your conversations and they can do what's called shoulder surfing and still access your accounts that way without you even knowing that that's the attempt that they're conducting. Your home network, again, secure your Wi-Fi access point or your router. It simply is just to remind you to make sure that you know who's on your network and who has access. Don't just generally give out your passcode to your Wi-Fi account. Be cautious of who's on it because again, anytime they're on it, then just opens up that possibility to your information. Restart your router or your modem often. If you turn your router, your modem off and disconnect it, generally, around every 2 days is a general practice window. Leave it off for a few seconds, plug it back in. That'll help to clear a lot of the information that's been transposed through your network. And so it'll also help you, have a cleaner network and less information that can be gained and accessed. Your family and your guests, those should not be, provided access to your work-related devices. It doesn't matter for how small the task may be or the request may be for. Those devices that are university assets should only be used by you and no one else. Again, just like with passwords, anything that happens on those devices or anything that happens with our accounts, it's the employee's responsibility, and that's who will be held accountable. So again, not trying to scare you, not trying to stress those points, but the importance is that it's very easy for cyber, attacks to occur, and we want you to just be ever cognizant of not only your devices but also what's happening with them. Passwords, again, they're strong passwords. Change any default passwords that you have. A lot of times it may be on your network, it may be on different devices that you're utilizing. Just ensure that the password to gain the access is a password that you genuinely created so that only you know what that is and can make it difficult for others to access. A lot of times default passwords are generic and therefore it makes it easier for that cyber criminal to attack you. Keep a separate network for guests and one for family if you're able to do that, right? If you're not able to do that, then just ensure you know who's on your network and who has access. Only utilize VPN when it's necessary. If you're having to access Famous or Banner or any other requirements such as your departmental shares, utilize VPN, right? Because that's going to allow you the same network access. However, most of the files that you and I work with on a daily basis can be accessed either in Simplicity or they can also be accessed from my files that that are within my documents. And you can go to myfiles.pvamu.edu to be able to access those files. So again, on the VPN network, we do have a limited number of concurrent connections that we can have at one time. So if you need to be on VPN, absolutely log on, utilize it, and do what you need to do. But if you don't need to be on VPN, ensure that you disconnect from the network. That way it doesn't slow it down for others that are on it, and it also allows others that need access to be able to get on it. Simplicity is an application that's available to all our university employees. It allows you to access your files and store sensitive files there. Those files you can share them, whether it's an individual file or a folder of files. So utilize Simplicity in your daily routine if you're not already doing so. Avoid the use of unencrypted USB sticks. Again, you should only be utilizing devices that are provided by the university. Keep an eye on your device. Never leave it unattended. Ensure you lock your machine when you're at home, especially if you're in the public, and always power down your computer when it's not in use. Again, we're working in remote locations, so our mind frame is different. We're focused in doing our work, but we're also surrounded by a different environment. So while we're at home and we know we're secure at home, it's very easy for us to step away, do what we need to do, and leave our device unattended. I ask you to, when you're going through and doing your work at home, that you place yourself in an environment that you're back in the office and follow the same protocols so that just by mistake things don't happen onto your device. Be careful of using Wi-Fi at other family members' houses or any free Wi-Fi at a public location. If you have to access something that's secure, use VPN so that your data is protected and you're also on a secure network. But again, be very cautious on other forms of Wi-Fi that you utilize because though we may not have heard a lot about it thus far, what we normally hear is phishing emails. One of the other more prevalent attacks that's occurring more often is shoulder surf. And you have individuals that are in your area and they're bystanders, but all in all, what they're doing is they're gaining access into your network through different ways that they're able to get that. So just be very cautious of the networks that you log onto, know where you're logging on and what you're utilizing, and then make sure that you disconnect when you're done. Secure video conferencing. Video conferencing can be conducted via Zoom, WebEx, and it can also be conducted via Teams. Regardless of the application used, we need to ensure that the safeguard of the information that's being discussed during these sessions. So, do not post your Zoom, WebEx, Teams links on other sites. They should only be posted in e-courses or if it's through official email. Meetings should be private and not public. We've had a recent example here at the university just last week where one of our virtual classrooms was attacked. The attacker accessed the session and during the session just bumped in and made racial slurs and comments during the session. So again, we want to take some extra measures and precautions when we're conducting video conferencing to follow these key points here to protect not only you, but also the participants in your discussion. When you create a meeting, always require a password. Not allow the meeting to start until the host arrives, right? Whether that's you or one that you're attending. Create a meeting room so that whoever's waiting there can be checked on by the host and then allowed into the session. Perform a virtual roll call and then use the waiting room again feature if you're depending on the application that you're using. But conducting a virtual roll call will allow you to know exactly who's on the call and whether they should be there. Same thing with locking the meeting once it's started. Be sure to only let one user in at a time if it's after that time frame, and ensure they have the requirement to be there. Be careful of what's in your chat. All our web conferencing tools enable the chat feature. If you're recording your session, just know that everything that is happening during your session, whether it's by voice, by screen, anything that's in your chat, all those data elements are captured in the recording. So be very careful what's in your chat and always let your participants know that as well so that everybody's cognizant and aware of that. If your audio happens to be breaking up, then dial in by phone and use a video to view the presentation. Enable host sharing. There's a lot of times that we're going to conduct meetings or we're gonna have dialogue conferencing with other members, colleagues, or other members in our departments, and sometimes there's going to be other participants that need to share their presentation or maybe some data that they're presenting to the group. Make sure that you only allow that access when it's their turn to do so. Once they've done so, then revert the access and regain the hosting privilege for your designated session. Be careful of fake emails or pop-ups that are telling you to install Zoom, WebEx, or any other type of application. Again, these types of applications should only be installed by the IT department, by the help desk. So anything outside of that should be suspicious to you and raise a red flag. If you receive a request to support you, again, please be sure that it's something that you've initiated, something that you're getting a response from a ticket or a phone call from. The request should only come from a PVAM user, and it should only be from a valid university account. Personal computers and updates. Though we strongly encourage you never to use your personal computer for work, we understand that at times you may have to log into a personal computer, whether it's to single sign-on or any other application. If you have to log into a personal computer to access, the university related data that you need, and we ask you to make sure that you keep these items in mind. Use the VDI when it's possible, right? Go to the virtual desktop interface. Again, from the essential tools, you can access the virtual desktop interface and you can access it via the client, or you can access it via the HTML access. Either way, you have accessibility to VDI, and working in that environment is a more secure application and site that still gives you access to all the systems and applications we have at the university. Keep your operating system and antivirus up to date. Make sure that automatic updates are turned on. Don't use outdated applications. Keep in mind that those type of applications you have on your system, you want the updates and the software that you have on there to have come directly from a manufacturer. Be careful of phishing links that come to your personal email. We talk about phishing attacks and cyber attacks, and it's important because we're talking about it, based on the work that we do in our professional world. But the reality is that we're also getting attacked on our personal side. So a lot of times it's easy for a cyber criminal to connect your personal information with your work information, try to link those two to still be able to access the information that they need. So to help mitigate those things, just make sure that you're exercising the same protocols, not only on your devices that you're utilizing for work, but also your personal ones. Keep your cell phones and your mobile apps up to date. Be cautious of any kind of apps that pop up that offer you free apps, because a lot of times those are set up that way to capture your attention. And once you do, then they're able to access your information simply from that download in a very, very quick time frame. Be aware of anything that's free, right? A lot of times there's nothing that is free, right? So be aware of everything that's free, especially movie sites, or sites that'll give you any kind of installation software, things that are going to be relevant to the things that we touch every day. Again, we strongly recommend using two-factor authentication on every account you have. The university accounts and applications will require that. So we know you're protected in that. However, follow that practice and take it to your personal accounts as well. Again, just be aware of a lot of the different things and attempts that cyber criminals are trying to use to access the information, whether they're going to try to do it and funnel it through your personal side or through the university professional side. Just be very cautious. Our university security team can be accessed by phone or by email for any issues or concerns you may have. The help desk is available if you need troubleshooting or need to install some type of software application that you don't have or that may not be working correctly on your device. Simply contact them at 936-261-2525. Or you can submit a request via email as well at servicedesk@pvamu.edu. The other part of our security team comes in the event that you need to report anything that may happen or is suspicious on your end. If you clicked on the link in a suspicious email or you open up an attachment by accident or just by default, anything like that, you'll want to email information security at pvamu.edu. And then that way the security team can look at that issue and help you rectify the situation or any of the detrimental impacts that are caused by that. Again, our security team monitors the type of attacks that are coming onto our university to protect you, the data, the network, and everybody else on campus. However, we have that responsibility to make sure that if we do something that causes us a breach like this, that we do report it. And again, we'd report that to information security at pvamu.edu. The site resources that we've made available for you. These are multiple resources with detailed information and guidance. We made them available to our campus community so that you can be successful while you're working from a remote location. There's 2 pages here that are new and have been placed out on our university website. The first one is a telecommuting page, and you can access that at pvamu.edu/telecommuting. This will give you a snip here. However, once we go to that link there, pull it up for you so that you can see the content in it. Slide it over to you. There's a category there for students, for faculty, and for staff. A lot of the information that's here, from DocuSign to VDI, Simplicity, VPN, and all these links that are here will also drive you down into more specific detailed information and resources that are out there and available for you. Should you just need a refresher, should you need something and not sure how to do it, you'll be able to find some instructional guides there, as well as some additional information to help you navigate through that system or that application. The other is a training page. We created a training page with you in mind. What we basically did was we took a lot of the tools that have been available for our university. We made them available on this page. We put them in a order where they're available to you to be able to access, whether they're PowerPoint presentations in PDF, whether there's some small videos there that will actually walk you through the basics of an application. Again, all these tools are available. They're active now. You just need to visit the webpage to access them. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that the slide deck we're reviewing now is already on this page, and this is where you can locate it. Here's the PDF slides file here. So again, once the webinar is over, you can go out there, access those files or any of the other tools that we have made available for you. The organizational email that you see on your screen, techtraining@pbamu.edu. That email has been created to receive any training requests or concerns that you may have. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any assistance that you may require, whether it's additional trainings that you require, if it's trainings that you're looking for. Again, that's the purpose of the email, and that's how we can better assist you. At this time, I know we've gone over a lot of information. Are there any questions that exist? Okay. If no further questions exist, this will conclude our webinar session today. I hope you found today's presentation useful and informative. I appreciate the time you spent with me today. Thank you, and have a great day.